My initial reaction when I first saw that OG Anunoby was traded to the New York Knicks was that they got fleeced. But the more I read the trade, I'm like, okay, maybe the Knicks had a point here because they gave up RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and only 1 second round pick. They still have all their first round picks to go out and trade for someone else. But again, they kind of OG Anunoby only has 1.5 years left on his contract. So you gave up two of your best young players, two of your best young assets, and now they have no young player trade assets, so they have to part with all their picks in order to make another trade. And let's be honest, New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein, and then Dante DiVincenzo at your two. That's going to be your starting five. Josh Hart off the bench. You really don't got anything outside of those 6 players. So, in the long run, I mean, they're going to struggle with depth. Tom Thibodeau plays all his players 60 minutes every night. So they're going to burn out. They have no depth. Precious Achiuwa, they did add him in the trade. He's a good pickup. I like him coming off the bench for them. Played backup center minutes. And then Malachi Flynn, I think he's underrated. I think given the right amount of time and enough minutes, he can be a good player, but he's going to be in Brunson's shadow. So you got to look at it that way. But again, they have 6 players now. They killed all their depth, and they're not going to be able to trade anybody without trading all their draft picks since they have no more young assets. So in a way, you look at it for the Knicks, they did better their defense. The reason they did this trade was because their defense has been atrocious. It's been absolutely horrible for the last few weeks. Like, they can't guard anybody. OG Anunoby can carry a defense. He can be the anchor guy, and he's a wing, so that's fairly good. But he doesn't provide the scoring that Quickly and Barrett provide together. So scoring is going to go down. Yet you have to rely on Randle to be consistently good come postseason time, and he has been historically horrendous in the postseason. So you lose that. They're going to have to trade for another scorer because they're not going to be able to put the ball through the hoop as easy. I mean, they're a grit and grind team naturally, but how does that work out come postseason time? They get out grit and grind to a team like the Heat that has scoring and star power, just more star power overall and more scoring. So by parting ways with Quickly and Barrett, they lose some of their scoring. I mean, Quickly got hurt last year in the playoffs, so he couldn't really do his thing last postseason. But you're not going to have him to come off the bench and score 20 points a game because he's been doing that. So you're going to have to find out where the next level of offense is going to come from. But defensively, obviously they won the trade since they did what they wanted to. OG Anunoby could step up and be a third scorer. He could break out like Mikal Bridges. Who knows? I mean, not going to have the ball in his hand, but just by cutting. Brunson's a good playmaker. Julius Randle, I'm not going to say he's a great playmaker, but he does have high assist numbers. So, yes, he can play make a little bit. I mean, you don't get the assist numbers without being able to pass, or you just get lucky, but at a certain point, you can't say it's luck. But anyways, OG Anunoby could flourish offensively around these guys because he can shoot the ball, can finish around the rim. He just can't create his own shot, which is fine. He's not going to be needed to do that. So the more I think about this trade for the Knicks, I'm like, all right, maybe they didn't get fleeced as bad. But then again, OG Anunoby, 1.5 years on his contract. And if he doesn't want to re-sign or doesn't sign an extension, they could be in big trouble. But this trade could look even uglier and a lot worse if RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly really develop into what they drafted them to be. Because if you remember, RJ Barrett, he's from Canada. He was drafted 3rd overall out of Duke. Hometown kids tend to cook. I mean, Jalen Brunson in New York, that's basically him being home. That's his home. He's cooking. Anybody you ask, if they go home, they're going to be cooking. They're put on for their city. But Emmanuel Quickly, he's not in Brunson's shadow anymore, and he can develop. When both of these guys were drafted, they actually were a lot better than they anticipated being going into the season. And that meant these guys had to play bigger roles and be thrown into the fire right away. In Toronto, they can develop. Toronto's not very good. I mean, there's a reason that OG Anunoby and Siakam both are probably going to be traded before the trade deadline. OG Anunoby, he's gone. Siakam's next, hopefully. Please trade him. But anyways, these two players can develop now, and they could turn into stars because Emmanuel Quickley's never been bad. I mean, he gives you 20 points off the bench sometimes. But then RJ Barrett, he got bashed by the media so much when he was in New York. So when he's getting bashed by the media, he tends to go down. He ain't gonna get bashed by anybody in Toronto. He's the hometown kid. So this trade for the Knicks has so much disaster potential because OG Anunoby, if he doesn't re-sign, you traded away Barrett, who could turn into a star. Quickly, who could turn out to be a very elite Lou Williams caliber 6-man, but even though I think he should start this year, there's so much disaster potential here for the Knicks that is going to be really worrisome. But enough about the Knicks. The Raptors, I think you won the trade. You got those two players that we've touched on, and you only lost 3 players, 2 of which are solid role players, but in the long run, are they really going to play that much? No. So now, if you're the Raptors, you have a lineup. Hopefully they start quickly. Then you got RJ Barrett. Then you got Scotty Barnes. You got Siakam, who needs to be traded. And then you got Jakob Poeltl. That's a good 5. You got Gary Trent, Dennis Schroeder, and I can't even name the other people, but they're not supposed to be good. Jalen McDaniels, he had a really good game against the Celtics. Sorry, I forget. Let's actually just look at the roster. Is there anyone else I'm forgetting? Chris Boucher, Thaddeus Young probably doesn't play. Grady Dick, Otto Porter Jr. Otto Porter Jr. is good. Probably trade him. They got a lot of guys that could help them in the long run. But you just look at it. If Quickly, Barrett, and Scotty Barnes is your big 3 of the future, and they all hit their potential, Toronto could be very, very good. And that's why I think the Raptors really won this trade. I mean, they only gave up 1 player that they should have traded a while ago. I mean, they're asking for 4 first-round picks. Obviously, in hindsight, I think this is a lot better than 4 first-round picks because you could really miss with your draft picks, and you could be right back where you were before the draft. And now they got these 2 young players that have played in the NBA. I think RJ Barrett's going to be very good. I think Quickly is going to be very good in a Raptors uniform. I think they're both going to hit their ceilings, and it's going to be really good. So I think the Raptors really won this trade. I think they're going to be a contender within the next 2-3 years because they still have a lot of money. I mean, we got to look at the package they get from Siakam, which could be decent. You get a 2-way wing, a young 2-way wing. Who knows? You trade him to the Hawks, you get DeAndre Hunter, or you get some type of package. They got wings. Sadiq Bey, he would be good. You just need 1 wing. You're good if you're the Raptors. So I really like this trade for the Raptors. I'm not a Raptors fan. I know I'm wearing this, but it's just because I'm excited for the Raptors since I expect Quickly to have a Tyrese Maxey type leap. Now, maybe Tyrese Maxey of last year rather than this year. I don't know if he'll reach Tyrese Maxey this year level, but he's a good 2-way player. He fits the mold. RJ Barrett, he's back home. They're going to be really scary and dangerous, and I'm going to leave it at that. So let me know what your thoughts on this trade were. As I said, I originally thought they got fleeced, but the more I look at it, they still have all their draft capital if you're the Knicks, so you can go out and trade for somebody else, but you don't have the young assets, so that's where the problem is there. And if you're the Raptors, obviously you did a good job because you got rid of a player that probably wasn't going to be on the team after next year, and you finally got rid of him for 2 good young players. So you can't complain if you're a Raptors fan. I do think DeJounte Murray, though, he's going to have an interesting time getting traded. I do think there are 2 really good fits for him. One of them, San Antonio Spurs, the other 76ers. So if you want to hear more on that, click on this video somewhere on the screen. And then I do a weekly recap every week of the NBA season. So if you're interested to see what I have to say about last week, click on this video here. We go through every team. Have a good one. Bye.